Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls. I hope everybody is doing absolutely amazing on this pretty cold Wednesday night. I'm freezing. All of that nonsense about heating being too much money in that, but
Nah,
we're
get that
moving.
heated
I'm
on,
always in a
mate.
hoodie.
Get
You're gonna have to at
it
some
on.
point. But listen,
Apologies for the state of my
Um,
camera, gents. It's bugging out, but we'll do.
Oh,
yeah, Chris
wow.
will be back when he's sorted his stuff out. But
Wow.
yeah, we're back with another pod. We're here to talk about something nice for once. Shigz, you're back and you bring us a win. So first of all, thank you for coming back on, mate. It's been a long time. How you doing, mate?
Yeah, I'm well, thank you. I'm well, thank you. It was a pleasant surprise because when I saw the lineup, I didn't know what to expect. So, but how was you? How was you feeling when you was in the ground when you saw the team, or did you know it before you got into the stadium?
No, I didn't know yesterday. I asked for it from our guy at TAT that always tweets it out, and I was wondering what it's going to be because I was pretty sure it's going to be a lot different to the one that played at Anfield. But again, when I saw it, mate, I didn't expect to win, to be honest. I remember saying to some of my friends, because one of my friends was like, Ben's gone all the way there, and then that's the lineup, and then he put like a million laughing faces. And I said, to be honest, if they all turn up, we can win this game.
Yeah.
And lo and behold, that's what happened. We'll get onto it in a bit. Chris will join us again. And guys, just please make sure you're smashing the like button and subscribing to the channel. On the last stream, we hit 500 subscribers. So very, big thanks to everybody that did that. The channel is growing, and it's good to see people subscribing and liking streams. And we all appreciate the support. And I just seen another comment which I'm not gonna get into, but let's get on to it, mate. Chris will join us, like I said, when he sorted out his camera. Make sure you leave comments, engaging in the conversation, and let's get on to it, mate. So first of all, I mean, we've covered it really, mate, just there. But team news reaction. I want to hear what you liked about it when you saw the lineup, mate. What made you think, oh, you know what, that's interesting, or did you think like, okay, that's not very good, we're gonna lose?
When I saw what's his name, Joe Gomez in the lineup, I was like, I wanted to see Nat Phillips just because of the debacle. Well, he came on for that game, but I just thought because of the way Wolves played at Anfield, they came at us, so I just assumed that they would play that same way again. And for the first 5 minutes they did, but then after that they kind of sat back. So I was like, maybe he got it right, because I've got to say, for me, Basecic stood out. Like that guy is. How old is he?
18.
Get on to him, mate. I've got a lot to say about him. 18. Yeah.
Listen, that guy has got a bright future, and it's not even like him and like Thiago. Naby not so much, but the mid for once our midfield turned up. I
just thought Naby played well, to be fair.
I've got things to say about that. Anyone who follows my Twitter knows I've got a massive... I think I've just been friends with Nabillionaire too long to not have a Naby agenda at this point, and I will be saying things about Naby Keita when we come to it. But you're right, the whole midfield is...
how can I put it? The game against Wolves, our midfield was so open, and then yesterday, like, you would have thought, because the Basecic he's not a physically imposing guy, that they would have run, but they didn't. And I was like, raw. Like, so what is it that these lot can do that our supposedly first team squad members can't do?
I have an answer.
Go on.
It's run.
Chris, take it away.
Yeah.
It's run. That's the answer.
Literally, as simple as that.
That's all we need.
Runners.
They ran around the pitch, and magically, we were good. Who knew?
Yeah.
That said, we didn't exactly set the world alight.
No, we weren't. But we were competent. We were solid. It weren't like whenever someone got the ball and went past one, they went past the whole midfield. Like, people were putting tackles in. I lost counting times Basecic won the ball back. It's funny because then when Fabinho came on, how many times did we start giving fouls? And I was like, oh my God.
Shigz, you know what? Yeah, I think it's a great point because I went to the first game as well, and you're right. Hendo and Fabinho played in that game, and yesterday what we saw from those three that played was like not even close to what those guys played like in that first game. And it's true. I think Basetic brings Basetic. I don't know, but I've heard so many different ways of pronouncing it. I go Basetic. That's how I say it.
Whatever.
People
Well, listen,
say-
whatever you want to
We'll
call
stick
it.
with yours. You're the host.
yesterday.
Bashetic it is.
There we go, Basetic.
I will cut
I
that up
think
in
he
20
just
minutes.
comes on and yeah, he just comes into the team, and I think he brings like Chris said, the running element, which it sounds absolutely mental that we're hyping up a player because he ran, but that's where we are at the minute. He brings the hunger, which again is something we've always prided in ourselves. Let's be real, like with our midfielders, even when they're at the peak, Henderson, he wasn't anything spectacular. But the
There's
way
loads of energy.
why he worked is because he could run, energy, get around the pitch. And we've lost that now. And we've lost a lot in that team because of that. And he was my man of the match, Basetic. He was absolutely phenomenal. And
Mine
I
too.
just came away from that game and I said to my brother, like, I think that's the game where he's arrived because we saw glimpses of it in like friendlies and in a couple of other games where, he looks like a tidy player. But like you said, Shigz, he imposed himself in the game yesterday. He had Ruben Neves and João Moutinho, and then later
He
on,
literally
Mateus
sat
Nunes
down
comes
Moutinho,
on.
didn't he?
Oh, did you see when he nutmegged him? And then
Oh, it's joyous.
So for me, like just touching up on this, I want to see him start in the next game because how many more chances and how many more opportunities are we going to give to Henderson and Fabinho to do stuff? Like, I'm not saying like, play him every game because, there's probably games where you wouldn't play him. I mean, the City game the other week, I think was a bit too early for him. But when I look at that midfield performance yesterday compared to anything else I've seen this season, it was chalk and cheese. It was a million times better. Chris, do you have anything to add, mate?
Can I just clear up as well? Obviously, I said running, and I was being ironic, and I mean it is kind of that simple, but also like that's the part where Klopp comes in. Is our system is so dependent on the press,
that
if you don't like, it's not just like bull in a china shop, like running around chasing cars. It is like they had the energy to follow the system that's got us so far. Like they were able, like it wasn't mindless running. They were hunting, like the phrase that they always use on Sky Sports, isn't it? They were hunting in packs.
Yeah.
But like for me, yes, Basetic, but Harvey, and not even really for the goal, although it was a stunner. They were both man of the match for me because they were the two who were really setting the pace.
The pace of the game, yeah.
Because the midfield were just able to just swarm. It was almost like a cloud of bees on the pitch. They were just there, they were just moving. They weren't exactly like it wasn't 10 out of 10, but it was so much more effective because we were able to just get on them the second they got the ball. Usually, like the rest of the season, it's been Fabinho sort of half backing it between the centre backs. Henderson's somewhere on the other side of fucking the city at that point. And it's just Thiago, and obviously a rondo's an awful lot easier when it's 5-on-1.
Yeah.
But when it's like, when all three of them are really first of all coordinated and second of all energetic, that makes so much more of a difference.
Yeah.
Like it is crazy how our system went from broken to back up to sort of a 6.5 again, I'd say, by our standards, just because they started moving effectively.
Exactly, Chris. And this is the thing, like, I've had people say to me, like, I was talking to about it, oh, you're hyping him up, it was only against Wolves. And I said to them, like, look, the week before we played our stronger midfield on paper of Fabinho, Henderson, Thiago, and they were absolutely shocking. And, that's against the same team. And we've now gone a week later or a week and a half later, whatever it was, and we've put Thiago with Basetic and Naby, and it's a million times better. So it's like you can say it's only Wolves, fine, but we literally saw how bad we can be against that exact same team just a week and a half ago. Yet you change two players, and the difference is ridiculous. And Shigz, my stance on Naby, mate. I will never miss an opportunity to praise Naby. One of my favorite players. I've got the purple shirt right there.
Yes.
We got another Naby fan.
Oh yes, absolutely. I'm all on board.
Oh
So,
wow! Okay, we're an endangered species, man.
Yeah, apparently so.
Look,
Look, don't get me wrong. If he leaves in the summer, I'll be disappointed, but I'll get it.
Yeah,
Yeah,
But
this,
people-
I've
but like-
agreed.
but-
I've agreed with that as well. I think it's
But what I don't
it is
get-
time to move on.
Yeah, but what I disagree with is people writing him off when we've got 6 months left of him. It's very obvious. I think I read a stat earlier that him and Thiago have only played like 7 games together,
yeah, no,
but we've won all 7. Yeah. And it's like
That's crazy.
when they're both playing, Keita's probably the closest thing we've got to his skill level. Like in terms of ability, he is our second best midfielder.
Even
The availability gets in his way,
yeah.
which I get. Like fair play, if he's not around, you can't play him, and he's pointless when he's on the treatment table.
Yeah.
But make use of him when he's there. He's too it's too much of a waste not to. He's Ginny Wijnaldum, but with actual tech. Like what more do you want?
Yeah. This is the thing, like, and it's like I don't know what it is that none of the other players, but all 3 that played on yesterday have it. When they get the ball, before they get the ball, they're already looking what the next pass is before they even got the ball. You saw Besetic do it. You saw Thiago there on numerous times where someone's on him, he just dummies the ball and it goes past him. Like it, and sometimes I know we said earlier about there's more running in the team, but the midfield just seemed to have more control of the game. Like it wasn't just aimless passing.
I think it leads into the energy angle again, though, because I think if you're knackered, you're not as aware. Like it's not just about the running; they were all sharp, not just physically but mentally. Like it's like Sky Sports and Match of the Day. They always love when a playmaker has like a 10 out of 10 game. They will always do that clip of like the vision cone constantly popping. I bet you could have done that for all 3 of our midfielders yesterday because they were just really, really switched on. They knew exactly where everyone was in a red shirt and a yellow. Yeah. And the difference that made of just how we were, you're right, in terms of control, because it's easier to control something when you know what the hell's going on. Yeah, and they were just in and firing. And to the people sort of saying, well, I've forgotten how it was. I've already forgotten how it was we were supposed to pronounce his name. Besetic, yeah. Stefan. To the people saying that Stefan shouldn't start at Chelsea. First off, fair enough. He's 18 and he had to come off with cramp after like 70 odd minutes. But what I will say is the difference in the City game is the 2 in front of him. Yeah. Like the amount of it's the same as when the centre backs get slaughtered because the midfield isn't working. Like he's got competent people around him who can share the workload. Yeah, Trent getting slaughtered because the right channel's not tracking back to help him when that's how the system works. He's got if he's got those 2 in front of him, pinging around all over the place, hunting impacts, then his job becomes that much easier and he's able to perform that much easier, which is why I think he's doing quite so well as an 18-year-old. Obviously, bags and bags of talent, but he it either keep Naby and Thiago if you have to rest Stefan, or basically what I'm saying is at least 2 of yesterday's midfield should start at Chelsea. Just to add on to that though, if you choose it to just quickly, Ben, sorry. If you do choose those 2, you're either going to be picking Fabinho or Henderson, and neither of them deserve to be in the team. For me, neither of them.
I agree.
True. The only difference is I'm not saying I agree with the decision, by the way. I'm just saying I could see Klopp putting one of the more experienced people back in just because it's Chelsea. And honestly, I think in a similar sort of way as they helped Stefan out, I honestly think that Fabinho and whichever one of those 2 goes in at 6 instead, look about 10 times better than they have been because they've got Thiago and Keita in front of them. I think a lot of the problem is actually the combination of Fabinho and Henderson, because when they play on a pitch, we used to say the same thing about Henderson and Milner, and we also used to say it about Henderson and Milner. You can't play both of them. We always used to say you can't play both of them because they get in each other's way, and it seems like they're both knackered. And so
they both look like
choose one or the other. Choose one or the other. Preferably Fabinho if you had to, but
they both look like they're running through treacle.
Fabinho's always looked like he's running through treacle. Let's not beat
no,
around the bush.
But this is the thing. I watched the game, the Premiership years thing, about 2 seasons ago, and Fabinho was like sprightly. If you look at him now, it's like, what's going on here?
You know,
he was very effectively wading through the treacle, as opposed to now he's just stuck.
We haven't really spoken about Thiago as much, and if it wasn't for Stefan and his age, he would have been my man of the match. But I think because he's so young, Basetic is my man of the match. But and I think it's no surprise that Thiago, maybe fairly, maybe unfairly, he has received a bit of criticism over the last few weeks as well. And for me, it's no surprise that you put 2 midfielders in next to him that do their actual job. And this sounds like rocket science, doesn't it? Like,
bare minimum stuff, isn't it?
Yeah. You put 2 midfielders in there that actually do their job in running, showing the passion, the desire. I know it's cringy and people hate Pep Lingers for saying all that stuff, but it's true. You need it. Thiago has a faultless game as well, and he got the assist, which I'm not going to be shameless and say it's an assist because we are going to talk about the Harvey Elliott goal. Chris, you alluded to it earlier. I'm not going to give Thiago any credit for that. He literally played a 5-yard pass.
He set him up, yeah.
I'll give him some. He found him in lots of space. There you go. That's all we need.
Fans do that all the time for Mesut Ozil. City fans do it all the time for De Bruyne. So why not? Let's go with that. But Chris, the Elliott strike, mate. I mean, unreal.
I think that strike, and now this may be a really hot take off the back of yesterday, and that's fair enough. But off the back of that goal and Ben Doak's cameo when he came on, I personally don't sign a right winger because let's be honest, Salah's. I'll talk you through it. Salah's never injured. God forbid, but he's in terms of his availability, he's really rock solid. Yeah.
Yeah.
So whoever you sign, I mean, people talking Kudus, there's been names bandied about. Whoever's you're barely going to get any games behind Salah unless something happens. So why would you then bring in a big money signing when you can give 15, 20 minutes to Doak every game, or you can rotate out
he looks sharp
Harvey?
As well.
Because I think.
Good.
Especially when Nunez comes back, you'll have that penetration in behind, and that sort of. I think both of them, especially Harvey, are slightly more creative.
Mm-hmm.
Not successfully creative than Salah, because obviously he's amazing.
But I know why he is who he is.
Yeah. But they're more sort of creatively minded, and I feel like sort of last 20 games or something, or in a particular style of game, having them sort of feeding Nunez as opposed to Salah and Nunez both gunning, I think could be really effective. And obviously when you've got someone like Nunez who's just going to be that
focal point.
Yeah, focal point. My word was talisman, and that sounded a bit too generous for this early on.
Yeah, not yet. He hasn't got to that stage yet, but he could get there.
Yeah, he's not a fan base. Well, he actually kind of is a fan base talisman. It's quite impressive how he's done that already. But, with him flying in behind and sort of really stretching and causing chaos in amongst the centre-backs, I think it's the reason I'm really looking forward to Gakpo on the other side, is having the creativity on the wings, first and foremost, could really help, first off, the balance of the team, and secondly, Nunez's game in particular, because obviously they'll be more looking for, he's in. And let's be honest, Nunez is in like 5 or 6 times a half. Like, he's constantly making those runs, and having a more creative style winger on either side could really help with that. So, like, same on the left with sort of Gakpo and Diaz. Diaz is more of a dribbler, obviously, but that sort of creative side of it could really help. Now we've got a proper out-and-out 9.
Okay.
Shigz, I just want to ask you something, mate, about Harvey, because I've spoken to you so many times, and you've always said you've not been sold on him, and you know what? To be fair, this season at centre mid, I think a lot of people have been saying a similar thing, like they're not sure if he's it, they're not sure if he's good enough, or he'll have a future at centre mid. When you see him at right wing and when you see him play how he did yesterday, do you think that's definitely the way we should be utilising him rather than in the middle of the pitch?
Very much so. You saw for the majority down our right and their left, him and Naby were causing them havoc. And this is my point with Elliot. When he tries to drift into the middle, he doesn't have the same effectiveness as he does coming in from the
wide areas.
Yeah, because if someone goes out to track him, it leaves space for another midfielder. That's why I think we had such a good game, because every time he was picking up the ball, it was drifting out. It was drifting out to the. Did he start on the left? He did, didn't he? So it was Gakpo, Elliot, and Carvalho.
He started wide right.
Yeah, wide right.
Him and Carvalho were both sort of stretching.
But
and pulling.
The thing about it was that he was keeping to the left, keeping to the right so much, and their left back couldn't handle him. So the midfielder had to keep going over to him, and then left more space in the middle. Do you notice how many times we got through on their left hand side with little balls through? And it's just like, if he plays like that on a regular basis, he could become a world-class player. But the problem is sometimes he makes things more difficult than they need to be. Because there was no option for him to pass yesterday, he said, F it, I'm going to shoot. And he did. But when I find out when he has too many options, he still doesn't make the right choice yet. I know that probably come with age and maturity.
Yeah, that's the 19.
Yeah, this is but this is the thing. This is what separates the good players from the elite players in terms of, okay, right, 3 out of 4 times you might make the wrong decision, but on that 4th time you make a decision whereby you slip a ball through or you play a ball out to like that. The ball he played to Nunes, that he played to Nunes when Nunes just tapped it in from a volley. Quality play, and he took his time to look up and do that. And I know, obviously, other certain games you might not be able to do that, but I don't know whether it's I can put it. The jury's still out on him for me, just because, like, don't get me wrong, the goal he scored yesterday was a worldie. I'm not taking that away from him, but in this league and in this team, the best thing you can be is consistent. And I know he's only 19, but there's something there. Don't get me wrong. I'm not saying that he's a bum or a scrub. There's something there, but whether he produces it on a consistent basis is where the next level comes. And hopefully he does, because I like the guy. He's got character. He wants the ball all the time, and he can do things. But it's just, I don't know, because there's sometimes, and again, maybe this is down to, I know I'm rambling on a bit, but it's just because I've got a lot to. I want him to do so well, but the problem is as well is that sometimes Klopp doesn't put him in the best position to help him. If that makes sense.
Can I just jump back on that? Because I agree with a certain amount of what you said, but I think the idea of him not being consistent is a bit harsh. Because hold on. Let me talk through it.
I'll explain, but go on.
And it's not just, and to be clear, it's even if you don't mean that, I've seen a lot of other people saying it as well. So even if it's not responded to you, it can respond to them.
Yeah, that's fine. That's fine.
This sort of poor form he's been going through has only really been around sort of just pre and post World Cup. Yeah. Like I think there's such a recency bias. When it was like September, October, and everyone was going, hold on, why are we suddenly shit? He was the one thing that everyone was latching onto as the real shining light. He was our best midfielder. He was our man of the match. He was dropping 8 out of 10s most of those games. Granted, we were doing poorly, and you can talk how you want about destabilizing the system. But the idea that he's not good enough to play midfielder is just false to me, because I put, for example, I reckon if it's a midfield of Keita holding Thiago, Elliot, I think it's the same. You'd have the same sort of positive impact you'd had with Bajcetic, with Stefan, because again,
that's what I was just about to ask you. If you had the choice, just quickly, if you had the choice of a midfield of Naby Keita, Thiago, or Bajcetic, or Naby Keita, Thiago, and Elliot, who are you taking?
Well, the balance is better in the first one. But what my point is I think it's harsh to call out Elliot when he's had basically no one in the 6th spot behind him for most of the season. So yes, he struggled when it was him and Thiago at the 8, and yes, it wasn't quite balanced. But I bet you, like dollars to dimes or whatever, if it's 2 seasons ago Fabinho behind him, or even 1 season ago Fabinho behind him, because let's be fair, he was doing it a lot in the midfield last season as well, and was balling out, and everyone was going, "Oh, that's the right channel sorted." Like, the idea that he can't, like, I'm not saying he should, and I think he's still a winger first, but the idea that he can't be molded into that is just bizarre to me, because I think he's got all of the attributes he needs to succeed, apart from a bit of defensive awareness and maybe a bit of physicality. And I think you get both of those as you age up. There's a reason all of the best centre-backs are like 29, 30, and pushing into the 30s, is because there is no, I think certainly in defensive areas, I think attack it's slightly different. You could be mercurial, but in defensive areas, I don't think there's any substitute for experience, which is why I'm so impressed by Stefan, because I don't know what the hell's going on. He's great. But I just really, I really don't think you should rule out Elliot in midfield. I just think maybe
for now, you know what it is?
Maybe push it to next season when we've got some other midfielders that we can rotate in around him.
You know what it is, yeah. And for me, I think let him master one position. That's what I would say. Let him master that, right? Because the problem is playing as a midfielder and playing as a winger are totally 2 different roles. And as a midfielder, you're facilitated to pass. As a winger, your job is to more so get the ball and create and work with the
stretch, stretch the pitch. Yeah.
As a midfielder, you're not necessarily every time you're going to get the ball, you're not necessarily going to be trying to create something. It might be just a case of the pass before the pass before the pass. Do you know what I mean? And And for me, like if they were to say, if Klopp was to say, right, for the rest of this season, you're going to be on the left hand side. Even though I know he said Salah's going to start most of the time, even Salah, for me, I'll get on to him. I don't want to rant about him, but he needs to have a rocket up his ass to say, look, you're not going to start every game if you keep playing like this, because he hasn't been great since this season. Let's be honest.
Yeah, I'm just gonna cut in there and talk about Elliot just really briefly because we've gone on about him. But I agree. I think you can't write him off in centre mid. I think the first 3 or 4 games last season when he came through, like you say, Chris, he was like the new kid on the block. Like there was everyone comparing him to Goetze when Klopp was at Dortmund and all these things, and people said, "Oh, he's like our Bernardo Silva," and etc. The comparisons go on. He gets a big injury. He comes out of the team for the majority of last season. He comes back in, comes into a season where, let's be real, the midfield hasn't been there. And like Chris keeps saying, the support from the DM he's not had. So I don't think you can write him off there, but I do believe that his best position right now is certainly the right wing. I think the best we've seen him in his career. So when we signed him from Fulham, those few cup games he played that season, he played from the wing and he was unbelievable. I remember him against Arsenal and Villa, superb from the wing. Then obviously he goes to Blackburn, again, insane from the wing. And then yesterday he plays on the wing, and it kind of like refreshed me a bit, like all those videos I used to see of Harvey Elliott, because when he was at Blackburn, I was so like glued to this kid. I was watching every single time they played to see what Elliott was doing. Every time someone said, "Oh, Elliott's got an assist today," I was checking it to see what he was like, and it was all from the wing. And yesterday, his goal is incredible. Like that's
quality.
That's
absolutely
get that out of the way. But the main thing that I like to see from him yesterday was his press and the way he just constantly worked down that channel. He didn't stop, and he just looked more energized, and he looked like he was, really wanting to get on the ball every single given opportunity. He was really linking up well with the centre mids, and he was just a breath of fresh air. Really, creative spark on the ball as well. And again, his goal was one thing that's absolutely sensational. And luckily for me, I was right in that corner in the away end, because Wolves, the away end's terrible. It's like the side of the pitch. It's not behind the goal. So
when he scored and ran over to you, like, I was like, Ben's loving this.
Yeah, and you can see how much this club means to him as well. Like after the game, he stayed around for the longest out of all the players. Yeah,
he was only dropped at full time And I mean, and that
so
shows you enough about where our players' heads have been. Sorry, just to cut in quickly.
No,
like the relief. I mean, obviously he was knackered because he's been gunning it for 90 minutes, but he just dropped and he was just there. Like everyone was doing the whole Walter White thing and all that, and he was just gone.
Yeah,
but
knackered.
You could see the relief at getting the win on his face, and you know he was obviously a major part of that, not just with the goal, but with everything else he did. Like his work rate was. I mean, we've talked about the midfield. His work rate was every bit as high as the midfield, and to be fair to Fabio as well, was really, really harrying on that left-hand side as well.
Yeah,
but I think obviously it is Wolves. Wolves aren't great, and there is an awful lot of football, but that at least will grant a reprieve, I think, for this squad, because they seem like they're going through it
under the
I think it would be nice.
Yep. But it's a good reprieve.
I just want to briefly move on to. Go on, Shigz. You finish off. No, you finish.
No. I think it was just to close the matter. It's such a fresh air that to see that the team after that Brighton performance, which was so bad, to see there is still a fight, there is still a team there, kind of thing. So
they're still fighting them. Yeah, that'll have meant. Honestly, I reckon that'll have meant more to them, is the fact that they properly fought for it. So I go on, Ben.
Yeah, no, it's all right. I was just going to move on to someone else. I think we spoke about Elliot for ages. Nice, guys. Thanks for tuning in. Mate says he'll be angry if that midfield doesn't start. Are we going to talk about the ownership, the new stuff denying Qatar ownership? We might get onto that at the end, mate, if we've got time. This YouTube channel is underrated. You're popular on Twitter, but underrated here. Be constant, bro. Thank you for your kind words. And there's a couple more as well. But I wanted to just briefly talk about Gakpo just for a couple of minutes, because I've seen a similar pattern here, and the similar pattern and the comparison I will use for this is I'm seeing the same people and the exact same stuff being said about Nunes. You know, people with more than 2 brain cells gave him time, but a lot of people on the internet and whatever just
reactionary
of Nunes before he even kicked the ball for us. Shigz, no, I'm getting onto it, but the thing is now, right? That was Nunes, and that's the comparison I'm making. They're doing the same thing for Gakpo, and for me, right? And this is where I will stick up for Gakpo. Has he been good? Not really done as much as any of us would hope for.
He's been fine, hasn't he? He's been fine.
We're playing him up front, which is not where we want him to play. We brought him in because we're lacking left-sided players. Diaz, Jota, both injured. But now we're in a situation where we have to play him up front because we ain't got Bobby, we ain't got Nunes, we ain't got any of those guys. So we're having to play him up front, which he did for a bit in the World Cup, but that is not his position. And then, again, yesterday, you're putting him up there with 2 kids who, again, have never really played with him before. There's just so many factors. And even Nunes this season, I've been sticking up for him because of that reason. He's coming to a Liverpool side that aren't firing on all cylinders, that aren't linking up well, that aren't
he's still getting chances.
So,
he's still doing his job.
Yeah, but then you put Gakpo in a position where he doesn't even play. And it's like, he's played 2 and a bit games. For me, I'll give players at least 6 months before I come up to any sort of judgment. Okay, I'm not happy with, how we've been using Gakpo, but to be honest, I think Chris is right. In my opinion, at least, I think he's just been all right. Like, he's not been anywhere near as bad as I think people are making out. His shooting's been abysmal. I will say that much. But apart from that, Chris, go on, Shigz, go on. What's your thoughts on this?
I don't understand how you can get on a player after 2.5 games saying that he's shit. The guy is not like what.
He's probably still on Dutch time. Let's be fair. He's barely been here a second.
The guy has been here 2.5 games. What did they expect from him? I sometimes that's why I stay on Twitter sometimes, because I'm like, I don't know what you guys expect this guy to be doing in a team that's not really geared to how he plays. He still has to get used to the team. He still has to get used to the surroundings. He still has to get used to a whole load of things. And you expect this guy just to drop in and start banging in goals like that. It don't work like that.
It's like if you got a substitute teacher into a school and you wanted him to get all the kids A's, and then when he arrived, the school was on fire. Like, it's not a reasonable request. Let's be fair. It's not reasonable.
I don't understand it personally. That's why like you said, Ben, I let the player and especially in January, not all players are going to come in January and hit the ground running. Minamino didn't come in January and hit the ground running, or was it? Did he come in the summer? I think he came in the summer.
No, he did come. It was
but he didn't hit the ground running, and but he was functional for the team. Nah, I don't subscribe to that. I don't subscribe to people getting on Gakpo's back because he's been there.
Just needs time.
Not even that. The team is not being playing well for him to shine.
And he's also only had about 250 minutes to shine anyway. Like, I think there's only 2 players I think have managed to shine that quickly, and it's Firmino. Not Firmino. It's Mane and Salah, just because they were able to bang goals on the first game. Sorry, Ben. My camera's a bit cacked. But yeah, they're the only 2 who I think have been anywhere close to
hitting the ground running,
hitting the ground that much running. It's not even that. Like, it's ludicrous, the pressure we're putting him under. And obviously, I get why. Like, we're so desperate for someone to come in and fix whatever the hell is going on. We've started putting it all on him. But let's yeah, you're right. Let's use more than 2 brain cells for a second and think, actually, this guy has barely left the Dutch league. The Dutch league is a very different league. And
he's gone. We're having technical issues with Chris.
Just stop being dumb, basically. Stop being dumb. He's had 3 games.
Yeah, exactly. I just thought it was important to speak about that because it's the same people that saw Nunes and before he even kicked the ball. Why didn't we get a Nkunku? It's like, just stop crying. Just for one day in your life, it's not that deep. Like she says, he's just coming to a new league, a new team that's not any good at the minute, and he's been put in the games where he haven't got the first team around him. I think he'll be absolutely fine when he plays on the left wing.
One thing I will say about him,
Chris.
Sorry, just quickly. I kind of love him though already. And there's one very special reason for that. And it was, he's so lanky. He's such like a big lanky kid that he gives me such, like, watching him at like 6'4" and all limbs, dribbling through like 3 players, gives me the same moment that I had when Joel Matip took the ball on a 60-yard dribble for the first time. It gives me that joy of like, you're a lanky little boy, you should be able to do this, but there you are. Let's go, kid. Like, it just, I love it. I love players like that where they're able to do stuff that they don't look like they should do, like they should be any good at. And he's got such good technique, I think, and that's the one thing I think has come through already is his ball control. Obviously, his movement's got a lot to work on because also he's got to get used to the system as well. Like, that's one thing I noticed yesterday. Like, penetrating runs in behind, he's just not doing that yet because he's not used to playing that role, especially with these players. But when balls at feet, I think he's been really good. Yes, shooting touch, but I think like you can see there's a lot there to work with already, and I just think people are being unnecessarily harsh. Sorry, go on, Ben.
Yeah, I agree. No, I was just going to move on to a point I think you wanted to raise earlier, mate, when we were speaking off air. You made a good point, mate, and I think we'll all accept, even TAT now. As you guys know that are watching or following on Twitter, a few of our admins are huge Jordan Henderson fans, of course, and we get a lot of stick for it. But Chris, you raised the point to me earlier. When he's not on the pitch, who do you kind of see as being the captain? And I've had a good think about it, but I want to hear from you and Shigz. Who do you think can be that figure? Because we know Virgil could be it, but again, he wasn't playing yesterday. So Milner is obviously the vice, but he's likely to be gone in the summer, although there is a few rumours that he could get a new deal. So what are you saying?
No, please, no.
Right, we'll address that bit after. But let's do the
we'll get there
thing
first. We'll get there. We'll get there.
Yeah.
To be honest, I put that question to you mostly in the hope that you'd have an answer, because I find this kind of difficult, because I think there's a few options that it could be. Van Dijk seems like the obvious one, but honestly, I don't think he's been at it this season.
I wouldn't give it to Van Dijk. I wouldn't give it to him.
I think Salah, would be a very good pick, because I feel like even when he's not 100% on it, he's still doing stuff, and therefore, like, you can't put a price on leading by example. Sorry, it's gone again. I'll be 2 seconds. I'll carry on talking. You cannot put a price on leading by example, and I think that's a real thing in Salah's favour. I also think giving it to Trent might not be the worst thing in the world, because granted, he's been a bit funny performance-wise. Like, I don't think he's been half as bad as like any non-Liverpool fan has been saying he is, because obviously they're dumb and they had their World Cup agendas and whatever. But I do think he's wobbling a bit, but I think he's the kind of character where he would grow into that.
Yeah.
Like, I think that almost forces a level of consistency on him, and just by demand of the fact that he's the captain. And I think the same could be said for Robertson. Both of them have been a little bit iffy this season, and I think if you gave one of them the armband, I think whichever one that is, their game goes like that.
Yeah.
Because I think just the pressure of it and the expectation of it would really fuel them, I think. Other than that, the only name I thought of was Thiago, just because, Jesus Christ, that level of experience and awareness, I think could do a job. He's more of like a honourable mention.
Yeah.
But if I had to, I'm not sure between Salah, Robertson, Trent. But I think it'd have to go somewhere. Probably Trent, just for the long haul, and obviously for the Scouse side. But I just found it a really hard question, really, which is why I put it to you, like you said, off air. I just thought it was a good one for people to really talk about, because we're all getting ready we're all asking for Henderson to leave, but who comes in, you know?
Yeah, no, I think it's
Bellingham for captain on the 1st of July. Done.
Yeah, there we go. I think it's a good point. And for me, before this season, and I'd still probably say it, to be fair. I know Shigz disagreed with it. I would probably say Virgil as the captain when he's playing. I don't know why. I just feel like he still brings that, even though his ability might have dropped a bit. I still think
still
he
a
brings
presence,
that
isn't he?
Leadership into the team. Yeah, still the presence. Again, I think the point stands, Chris, that you made when you got a functioning midfield in front of him. When you've got a functioning midfield in front of him, he'll be back to his best. I'm absolutely certain of it. When you let through balls and balls over the top constantly get over to him, then there's a problem. And I think that's what he's struggling with, to be honest. Of course, he's had mistakes in him this season, but let's be real, we're all pointing everything back down to the same thing: the midfield. The fullback's being exposed, back to the midfield. The centre back's being exposed, down to the midfield. And I just think that's been a huge part in Virgil's season as well. But it would be him for me. I think I like the other shouts as well: Trent and Robbo. Ali, maybe. I don't know what you guys think about a goalkeeper being captain.
I like it because he's another lead by example, but he's not been really given it before, and so that's why I didn't bring it up. Like it seems obvious he's lower down in the pecking order than those guys.
Yeah,
I know exactly which admin tweeted that or commented that. I know exactly which one.
Shigz, what are you saying? Just before we move on,
I would give it to Robertson. I would give it to Robertson. I hear the Trent shout, but he needs to concentrate on his own game. Do you remember when Sammy Herpia was made captain and his form went down out the window, and then as soon as he took a goal, gave the captaincy up to Gerrard, he went straight back to being Sammy Herpia. That's my worry for Trent, because it means so much to him. He might try to the point where it's detrimental to his game.
Mm-hmm.
So
yeah, he might try too hard. Yeah,
Yeah, and
Got
that's
pressure
what
as
I'm
well
not
for
gonna.
Trent, Scouser, local. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
Like,
but
And he's
it'll
still
mean
very
more.
young. Let's not forget. He's still
This is the
very
point.
young.
So later on down the future, when he gets to 25, 26, even 24, I would consider him. But for now, I would just Robbo. Robbo's got that nastiness in him that I've seen on numerous occasions that you need as a captain to be able to say, look, listen, we're gonna have to play like this today, and he would happily go out there and set the tone. The reason why I say not Verge doesn't look like a guy that will set the tone in terms of right. I'm gonna go and smash this guy.
He's
and
almost
set
too
the
relaxed,
tone.
isn't he? He's almost
Yeah,
too
like,
relaxed.
oh, I
Like
need
it's great
somebody
for his
that-
game, but
Yeah, that's why. Because you've seen him when Virgil has been been the captain, and there's this. That's the way he plays, but it transmits to this casual kind of play. And I need somebody that's gonna. If someone's gonna not do their part, Robbo will chew them up and get on them. That's what I need. So for me, it would be Robertson.
I got one
true.
thing to bounce back on that, which is, and I didn't realize it until you just said it, but I'm Southeast based, and that just means everyone in my mates supports a different football team. So I got like a Leeds fan, I got a Fulham fan, I got a United fan. He's a real twat.
Most of them are.
It occurred to me that there's only one player that they all universally hate on this Liverpool team, and it's Robertson.
Yeah,
they all hate him because yes, he's really good. Yes, he's constantly up their arse, and he's so snide. Like
that's what I'm talking about.
Like, I've never had an argument with the Fulham fan friend of mine until I said Robertson was the best left back in the world, and he went absolutely off at one, telling me
he was.
Oh, I agree, but he was saying you can't be when you play that dirty, and I'm like,
I love it.
Just the idea of someone that sort of narky propagating into like that's another. I mean, I keep coming back to leading by example, but when you play a great technical game, you're constantly moving.
You need that,
and you're knifing them. Do you know what I mean? That's almost like the pillars of leading by example. He's hitting every bar.
Yeah,
but
that's why I'll give it to him over Van Dijk. Van Dijk don't have that. Okay, right. Let's do this. You want to play that lane? Watch it. How many times have you seen the Newcastle game when he's not the Everton game when he elbows Ben Davies behind the head, when he steps on Traore last week. Like I know it's not nice, but sometimes you need that little.
You need a bit of not nice. You need a bit of not nice. I got a question for you, Shigz.
Yeah. And
it's about the centre backs. Obviously, Van Dijk's going to be out for a couple of months at least, probably.
Yeah, about a month. Yeah.
I'm going to post. It's going to be a very targeted question, but we're keeping the same centre back pairing for Chelsea, right?
Who? Konate and Gomez.
Konate Gomez over Konate Matip. Because Konate rightly so, Konate seems to be like the guy.
I would pick Konate Phillips.
Konate Phillips?
Yeah.
We're going to talk about that. Go on, son.
I'm not a fan of Joe Gomez. I'm not a fan. I'm not. Okay. Not recently. For whatever reason, and Joe Gomez was quality when the season we won the league and stuff like that. But for some reason, he's got this lazy gene in him now. The way
he was good yesterday, though. He was really good yesterday.
How annoyed I was when I saw that goal. The way Welbeck just flicked the ball over his head, and he was just like no.
Okay, he was good yesterday, though, Shigz.
I got a question for you.
He was good yesterday. If you're on about Gomez,
we're saying who should be the partnership.
Oh, okay.
But Wolves didn't really offer much.
Go get Vardy. He's a Liverpool fan.
Yeah, no, that's the dream. That's the summer.
You know what it is. The reason why I say Nat Phillips. You know exactly that Nat Phillips knows exactly what he is. Like when they say there's no frills. Get the ball, give it to someone that can pass, clear.
Because he can't.
That's what he is. There's none of
very old school, isn't he? Like proper traditional.
Yeah, bro. I know. I need a guy that just knows how to do his job.
Yeah, but Shigz.
Can I make the case for right? I got one question for you, and then I want to make the case for Gomez.
Go on.
You've gone Konate Phillips.
Yeah.
Why have you not gone Konate Matip? Is my question before I get
Matip's form is down the toilet at the moment. Do you see the pass he made for Brighton?
Matip has been terrible, to be fair, as well.
I agree. I just wanted to get it out there because obviously Matip is bad, fair enough, but Matip is bad enough that we're going to Phillips first. Isn't it possibly a different question? I just wanted to ask that.
And also as well, Gomez has had plenty of chances this season. Had plenty.
So, but then we talked about that earlier on, didn't we? When the engine's missing at the car, it's an awful lot harder for the wheels to keep moving.
No, but this is the point. Konate has still kept his standard, even though he made a mistake against Brentford. 9 times out, I'd say 7 times out of 10, he's still been there trying to make a tackle, trying to make.
I'd go back to 9. To be fair, I agree with your point. I'd go back to he's been there. Fair enough.
This is what I'm saying. Like Gomez has had plenty of opportunities and plenty of times he's been found wanting.
All right, can I make the case for him now? Because I don't just to be clear, I don't necessarily disagree with anything you just said. But what I will say is I would argue that currently with our team where it is, the most valuable thing a centre-back can have is recovery pace.
Okay.
Because if you think even yesterday with our midfield firing, a few balls still got over the top. And one thing I noticed was the pairing of Konate. Like, I don't know how applicable the term is to football over rugby, but do you ever heard of a dog leg?
Yeah. I used to play rugby.
Ah, there you go. So anytime Konate is paired with someone who isn't as quick as he is, which at times this season has included Van Dijk, he has immediately shot back to be in the right position, which he is. But what that has done, because the other guy can't quite keep up with him, is it's left that massive gap here. I'm doing really bad. I'm doing a really bad job of visualizing.
Yeah, but I know what you mean.
He's back. The other guy isn't, and so the whole system is buggered because they're completely miles away from each other.
Yeah.
Gomez, to his credit, yesterday was back with him every time, and it was notable that the only joy they got in balls over the top was way over. Yeah, I kind of agree with that comment. Techie players could possibly get the better of Phillips, but I think you're right with the balls over the top. If they're coming through the middle, I don't think anyone's getting there before Gomez, Konate. Whereas I think Phillips, and we've obviously seen it with Matip, is they're not necessarily going to get back there the same way. And obviously, if one of them's gone, the whole system collapses. The only way they got through yesterday was because the Tasmanian Devil on the right wing was just running at Tsimikas constantly. But he wasn't even getting in on balls over the top per se. He was more collecting the ball, and because he's such a pace and power merchant, was able to just crack on straight past Tsimikas, who I'll be honest, I didn't think had a great game yesterday.
I don't think Adama actually, once he'd got down the wing though, I was never really worried. I don't think he did anything.
Yeah, that guy couldn't cross the road with me.
Yeah, no.
I think that's because the centre backs were back. Like I was only worried if he cut in.
Yeah,
because it seemed clear that the centre backs were always in the right position. Do you know what I mean? So while I agree that he's had a lot of chances, I think at the moment that's the pairing we need.
Okay, well, look, we'll see. How can I put it?
Klopp will pull something mad and it'll be Phillips Gomez at bloody Chelsea now.
Yeah,
we've gone through all this discussion.
Listen, if we're being real, it will be Matip and Konate. If we're being
I don't want it to. Matip should be nowhere near after his performance.
Yeah, but
but again, it's the element of knowing Klopp, isn't it?
Sorry, I don't want that Phillips against Chelsea.
True,
but
sorry. Fair enough. I'm just saying to you, man, that when we need him, when we've needed him the most, well, not the most, but when he's been asked to do a job, because he knows what he is, he does his job. That's it.
Let's move on then, guys, just to close off the pod, because we're coming up to an hour and
Oh,
Keep
shit.
it
It's been an
around
hour
an hour.
already.
Yeah, time flies, mate. We're just going to briefly talk about the next round, and that's where we're going to end it, really, because, there's a game on in a few minutes. And I bet some people want to get ready for Love Island as well. So
Of course they do.
You watch Love Island? Are you serious?
100%.
He said some
Yeah,
people.
100%.
He said some people.
Myself
boy,
included. But
what's going on here?
That's
I've got
beside
2
the
words for you,
point, right?
Shigz. I've got 2 words for you, Shigz. Maya Jama. Done.
No, come on.
Okay, that's another conversation for another day. Right,
Come on. No, all right. Go on, Ben. Go on.
Keep on track. Come on. My jam, and that's another convo for another day. But Brighton away in the next round. I mean,
anyhow, Welbeck scores against us again. I swear I'm gonna lose.
It's our bogey
it,
team,
like,
isn't it, Shigz? It's just like, what do we do?
How can Lallana? How can Lallana run the midfield again in that game? He was running the midfield.
He's top
because
class.
Lallana had everything for us except the movement.
Fitness.
And because the movement was the most important thing for our system, he had to go. And also, to be fair, he was declining. But if the one thing a midfielder needs at Liverpool is the one thing he doesn't have, then obviously he's got to go. I never thought he was bad. Obviously, I thought it was the right. He went at the right time. Like, don't get me wrong, I'm not saying we should have kept him, but it's not like he had nothing to offer suddenly and then he just dipped. Like, I think Brighton's a really good. It's almost he
landed on his feet.
To be clear, I'm not saying these 2 players are the same, but I think in the same way that Thiago worked better last night with Keita and Stefan doing a load of running around him. I think when you got McAllister and you got Caicedo doing a ton of running and being everywhere, that gives him the freedom to be able to dictate the play
together.
I agree. So what are we saying then? Do we think we're going through? I mean, it's a bit too early to tell. Some when is it? Flat says that our chaos will be there. He will.
True.
He'll be back, hopefully. So
when is the replay? Do we know?
A week on Sunday, I think. A week on Sunday.
Will he be back? If he's back, we'll win. We'll win.
He'll be back. Yeah.
We'll win.
He's back in training today,
I think you know what? That performance, Klopp will get into them for the fact that these men made a mockery of you when you was here last time. Show them what retribution is needed.
And Shigz, it's probably our best chance at a trophy this season. I know some people don't care about the FA Cup, and that's fine. But for me, I love the FA Cup. I still want to win it. If we can't get what we want this season, then having the FA Cup to fall back on, for me, wouldn't be a successful season. I wouldn't go around saying, oh, yeah, what a season. But it would be something.
Listen, the trophy's a trophy. At the end of the day, I don't do this snobbery thing. A trophy's a trophy. There's only 3 or 4 teams that win a trophy in a season. So, listen, I'll take what I can get.
Not even that if you win 2 or 3, mate. But, yeah.
There you go. Well, there you go.
What do we change, mate, for this game? Because let's be real, Brighton have been our bogey team of the last couple of seasons. So
none of the midfield except for Thiago plays. None of them. Henderson.
Go on. I mean, what I'm about to say is absolutely agreeing with you. I think you play the same midfield as yesterday, but I'm interested to see how successful they will be, because that is. We've got through like the first round, or like we've got through the group stages at this point now. But Brighton are like a knockout team for us where we are at this point. And I think it's going to be a real test for that midfield. Now that they know how each other function and now that they know that it really works, I think we should stick with that midfield. And I'm really I don't know necessarily how it's going to go, but I'm really looking forward to them going at it, because that is 2 proper midfields instead of, a midfield versus Thiago and 2 lampposts. So I'm really looking forward to that sort of proper battle, because I think one of the reasons we lost 3-0 was because we just dipped off the second they scored pretty. It's pretty straightforward.
Let's be honest,
and then we just stopped playing. But I don't think the team yesterday stops playing.
The whole game, our midfield was non-existent. Now, from the first half. They should have been 2-0 up from the first half. It was just that they didn't finish their chances. So
I will say, I'm not necessarily confident, but I think we're in with a very good shout. Certainly I certainly feel a lot better than I did when we last played. Like, I knew we were losing that game going in, as I think most people did. I think for this one, I'm a lot more optimistic. Nunez will be back. Gakpo will be in the correct position.
Yeah.
Salah will be playing most likely. That's already occupying a lot of their midfield and their defense. And then you've got a really actual sort of strong functioning midfield behind him. I think we've got a lot better of a chance.
Yeah, definitely.
I agree. And we'll see what happens, guys, because, we'll have players coming back, hopefully. And like I say, it's a big chance to go for a trophy now. And we've got through the Wolves games. The first one was absolutely horrid. Second one, a lot better. So let's hope for more of the same. But, guys, we're going to leave it there. Bang on an hour. So thank you for tuning in. If you made it this far in the podcast, please smash the like button and subscribe if you haven't already. And we'll be back after the Chelsea game on Saturday. So take care, guys.
Take care, people.
Thanks, guys.